That's a good segue. Here we are now. We're live. Gil, that's a great segue to enter into our conversation. Traveling all the way to Sydney for 2 days from head office, I'm assuming, from Tel Aviv. Yeah.
Yeah. This happened.
Yeah.
Actually, I finished my presentation, and I ran into the cab, asked him to take me right to the Opera House just to take a selfie. And then I ran to the airport just to make a V like I was in Sydney.
That's great. Exactly. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to Gil Israeli, who is the head of product incubation at Checkpoint, serving us out of the head office. And we were just talking before the show here about our various travels. So we're recording this 1st of November. So happy 1st. All right, 1st of November, 2021. And I was just telling Gil that I was in Cleveland last week for the first live show. Actually, no, my second live show since the global lockdown from the COVID-19 pandemic. And only 3 people came. And as Gil said, you got to do the show. So we sat down and had a great conversation, but I was in and out of Cleveland in less than 24 hours. But you going all the way to Sydney for less than 48 hours, selfie in front of the Opera House, that's a good one. Where have I been that's been, well, we host our big conferences when we're not locked down in 3 major geographic regions, right? I see you at all of these, right, Gil? So one of them being in Bangkok. And I remember one time I had to move house and I didn't want my wife, obviously, to pack all the boxes. I mean, it came over the same time as being in Bangkok. So I was there, I think, 2 days, which from New York to Tokyo is 14 and a half hours. And then it was like a 6-hour layover. This is all economy, of course. And then there was a 6-hour layover. And I did 8 hours to Bangkok. I'm there 2 days, did a keynote speech in front of like 4,000 people. I was so excited. You don't sleep, right? And then a bunch of customer meetings, back on that exact same journey in reverse. Let me say hello to Juan Rivera. Hello, Juan, and good to see you. LinkedIn user. Let me just look on my phone to see who that is. Is Ankit Bharti. I hope I'm pronouncing that okay. Giving Gil a hello as well. So thanks for joining us today. Yeah, what are some of your other?
Well, it's like not all glamour, right? It's the backstage of what we are dealing with on a daily basis. It's not everything like sparkles and big events and everything is happy. We suffer for sometimes we suffer.
Right. So I consider myself really fortunate to work at Checkpoint and have the kind of job I have now. I want to talk to you about yours because you and I haven't caught up really since the pandemic, right? Since we've been locked down. Otherwise, we just kind of see each other in the same city in passing, kind of high five, I'm on stage next, you just got off, something like that, right? So I haven't seen you for a long time. So I want to talk about head of product incubation, but I consider myself lucky in my role because I'm a keynote speaker for Checkpoint. But you're right, Gil. People look at me and they go, oh, look at that guy, right? He's in front of a camera or he's on stage. That's about 5% of the actual time of work that you see is me standing on the actual stage. The rest of it is, scripting, etc., right? Running planes, trains, and automobiles, as you say, getting a taxi to take you for a quick selfie, these kinds of things. And then hello to Guave Singh. I hope I'm pronouncing that okay. Hello to you too. Thank you for greeting us today. This is an Ask Me Anything with Checkpoint, with the people that I like to say who make the magic happen. Today, Gil Israeli is with us, the head of product incubation. So Gil, I was surprised before the show went live. Oh, and we just lost Gil. All right, he'll be back in. So actually, I was going to say before the show went live, I was asking Gil, because I hadn't seen him, what is the head of product incubation? So I don't actually know. So I'm going to find out in real time with everybody else when Gil's internet connection comes back, what is the head of product incubation. And Gaurav, I hope I'm pronouncing that, Gaurav Singh, I'll call you Mr. Singh, could be Mrs. or Miss Singh, saying, I hope you and your family are well. Thank you so much. Yes, we are well. And, life is okay. And hey, look at that. The internet is still working during the pandemic. And so we're back as fast as that, Gil. And we got another LinkedIn friend. Let's see here if I can see it on my phone.
So.
So. You know what, though, Gil? The internet has held up really well. actually. If you think about
Yeah,
it.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me? You look like you're frozen a little bit. So I guess you can't hear us, Gil, but I can definitely hear you. So I'll give the thumbs up on my ears that my internet's going swimmingly well. And hello, LinkedIn user. I'm sorry that LinkedIn oftentimes masks the people coming in. I'm just looking on my phone to see if I can see who that might have been. It's not coming up for me, but hello. And Gil is frozen again. So hopefully Gil realizes that I'm carrying the show and just talking here. But yeah, we're going to find out when Gil comes back what the head of product incubation does. This isn't Ask Me Anything, and you can ask me too. I like to have guests on this show and host this show, since this is part of what I do for Checkpoint. And what I wanted to design this show for, ladies and gentlemen, is so that you can actually see what goes on behind the scenes at Checkpoint to make us one of the greatest, longest standing cybersecurity companies in history, right? So Checkpoint's done tremendously well since our inception in 1993. When Gil Israeli wrote Stateful Packet Inspection with his partners, actually in his mother's kitchen. There's a great picture of him. You should try and dig it up on Google Images. If you go Gil Israeli, you'll see him typing away in his mother's kitchen with a bunch of fans back in the big .com boom days, where he invented the firewall, and the rest is history. And we've had a great run. And today, of course, it's a space where in 1993, no one really knew what cybersecurity was, except the founders, right? These founding fathers who created the industry at such a young age. It's still incredibly mind-blowing to call somebody of such a young age a founding father of an industry. But that's really what Gil and his partners were. And, fast forward to today, and we have around 700-800 mature cybersecurity companies in the industry. And I just want to get to a comment, or this might be a question. Could you help us with exactly what CPX is? Absolutely. Akshay. CPX stands for the Checkpoint Experience. And really, this is actually one of Gil's babies. We started the Checkpoint Experience way before I joined Checkpoint in 2008. And the Checkpoint Experience is a time where we bring our customers, our partners, our industry partners, which is to say all of the technology vendors that we work with, so that we can provide a cohesive infrastructure and architecture that we call Infinity to our customers. And we bring you to 3 different regions every year when we're not under a locked down pandemic. Those regions are one for the Asia Pacific region. Right? Asia Pacific has one. We usually host it in Bangkok simply because it's a big airport and big conference places to get to, right? The other one is for the Americas, North and South America. Typically, again, we host it in places like Vegas, where they can feed people in half an hour, right? 4,000 or 5,000 people, and get them back at their desks. And then we have another one for Europe and Africa and the Middle East, which again, we typically host in like a Vienna type of venue. And it's usually this: 3 days where if you're a customer, Akshay, if you're a customer asking me this question, then you will go in and you'll have opportunity to speak to our actual product developers. We fly all those people in, and they actively want to sit down and listen to you with the challenges that you have within your network, so that we can help you overcome those challenges. In addition to that, you've got all of the places where you can get your continuing education credits. You can bring your team and you can do blue teaming, right, and red teaming with them. We have all sorts of gamification and games room and hackathons and all that kind of cool stuff. And then we have industry leadership. So we pay for keynote speakers to come in and speak to us from companies such as Forrester, Gartner. We paid for, authorities like Brian Krebs, for example, that runs one of the largest cybersecurity blogs in the world. And so Brian will come in. There's Gil. I'll just bring Gil back into the stream. So Brian Krebs will come in. I'm just in the middle of a roll here, Gil, and then we'll come to you, my friend. And he'll speak in the industry as well. So that's what we do at CPX. And then folks like my colleague here, Gil Israeli, will bring his team in so that you can have one-on-one discussion there. And probably one of the biggest values is the birds of a feather sessions, because you won't be the only customer. As I say, there's usually about 4,000 people in each location. I'm talking about CPX, Gil. when we're in person. And for you to rub shoulders with other, cybersecurity professionals, from CISOs all the way through to interns, right? Everybody, the whole gamut. You really do learn what works and what doesn't work in the industry. Now, today, because it is virtual, CPX is being held in those regions, but virtually speaking. We haven't quite decided whether we're going to have hybrid. It's probably going to be virtual, ladies and gentlemen, but that's what we're doing. I'm going to get to some other questions just before or just after I re-engage Gil. How's that internet going for you?
Hopefully it will be better now, I hope.
Good man. All right. Well, listen, tell us then, what is the head of product incubation? What do you do, man?
Yeah, I think that before that, I will introduce myself. So a little bit with some personal information. So I'm married. I have 3 beautiful children. I have a dog and 30 koi fish that I love.
Wow.
Yeah, I live in Caesarea. It's a beautiful town on the coast of Israel, around 45 minutes north to Tel Aviv. This town is known for its national park, its historic port, and also mainly because it's the only place that have a professional golf course in Israel.
Oh, really? The only professional golf course? No
Exactly.
kidding. All right. I've got all my comments up now, so now I can see who's talking to us. Okay, Gil, tell us then. I've got some questions waiting. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, the answer to your questions. I've seen one right away as far as internships, so I'm going to get to that. So please sit tight. Gil, head of product incubation, man. I'm genuinely curious myself. What are you up to these days?
Okay, so the purpose of this organization is actually to make sure that when we release new technologies to the market, we are doing it in a way that customers are already played with it, activate it, see the value in it, and even we're willing to pay for it. We want to make sure that when we release new technologies and we are transitioning them or passing them to the sales organization in Checkpoint, we want to make sure that we have a clear go-to-market strategy. We want to make sure that all the materials are in place, that we can coach them and train them how to sell this product, and it will not be like a waste of time going with something that is not mature enough.
Okay, so, no kidding. I didn't even know that so you have a relationship with a special group of customers, I would assume, that are willing to do like an EA?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm part of the product organization. So I shift myself from the sales organization to the product organization, but I see myself like a sales representative in the product organization. Because actually what we are doing is making sure that the product organization and the R&D organization are transitioning the product with the relevant sales language, how to deliver the message to the sales in the way that they can sell it.
That's awesome, man. Okay. So now this speaks to one of the fortes, I think, for Checkpoint always, which is when you go around. I spent a long time in sales at Checkpoint as well. When you go around to the customer community and you say, what do you think about Checkpoint? One of the things you'll never hear is your product isn't that great. It's one of the things you always hear is, your product's rock solid, man. It's always been rock solid. That, I think, is one of the reasons, right? If you are testing and you're even paying for people to test in the real world, right? New and emerging technologies. I didn't even know we did that, man. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So actually, we are getting involved in the early stages of the early availability of the product. We are working together with the product organization and R&D to make sure that the product that we want to release meets the relevant requirements. And then we are looking for EA customers. We are working with these EA customers very tightly, making sure that they understand the product, that they install it, that they see the value, and then we get, of course, the feedbacks and features that are missing, and then we are adding them into the product until we feel that the product is solid enough, and we get a very, let's say, positive feedback from these customers saying, look, this is great. Thank you for what you did for us. Now it's working like it should, like it gives us a lot of value. And then usually we are trying to see if they are, really willing to pay for the product. They're going to get special price because they made the effort, but they are. This is also a sign. Sometimes a customer can say, trying to be polite and say everything is okay, but when he pays for it, this is the actually saying that he means it and he see the value in the product. And after we have enough, let's say, EA customers that we transferred to, let's say, paying customers, we are making sure that we have sufficient references. So out of these EA customers, a couple of them will be probably references for Checkpoint. And then we are building all the go-to-market strategy around how to position the product and how to deliver the message to the customers and to our field, etc.
Right. So last week I had, now the name's just escaping me real quick. Hold on October. That's it. Just last week I had Dana Katz. That's it. I remember the last name Katz, but Dana Katz on. So I imagine she catches what you just said. So after you've done all your thing, it goes to Dana's group. No?
No. So actually I work with Dana on Infinity SOC. So usually what happens, we are working as a group. So the group has a representative from product incubation, but it also has representative from R&D and from product management and from product marketing. So we are doing everything together in order to make a good launch to the product. The launch is usually after we had the customers and everything that I described. And then we are doing the launch together. We are doing the training to the field together. We are doing a lot of more meetings and presentation to customers and internal presentation together. So actually, we are working as a group.
Right. Wow. Just as a sheer opposite and a really tough story, I did a startup in Silicon Valley quite a few years ago now. And, it's a very competitive world. That's the excuse, right? So I joined this organization, very excited, right? Coming from an organization that had high engineering standards. So I was kind of like here with, when I looked the customer in the eye, and I was in sales in those days, and tell them this product works, 99% of the time, this product works. So I came from that kind of a background. In the startup world, in technology, there's a lot of vaporware, right? It's really scary. Entrepreneurs have an idea, very smart people have an idea. And unless they start saying their product is fully formed it's not an excuse, but unless they say it's fully formed and in great working shape, people aren't going to go ahead and execute on it.
So I think the process in startup is actually the same than what we are doing right now in product incubation. Actually, I see that as like managing a couple of startups and taking them to exit. Because also startup, this is what they are doing. They are reaching out to customers, and until they don't have any, relevant reference base and a couple of customers that are paying or using and see
at the very early stages, yes, yeah,
exactly.
That's true. That's right.
They cannot get any investment moving forward.
Right, but what there isn't is they have to be very careful. Because I got burnt in this experience. And the reason I got burnt is because it wasn't quite at the very beginning of the startup. They had already had a product and the product wasn't near ready, right? Everything was basically early availability, but it was being sold as general availability, right? Because it was time to get some return on investment.
So this is a little bit problematic and we are trying not to do that.
That's right, exactly. That's my point, right? We're already heavily established. We don't need to do that. We're a profitable company. We're a strong company. But when you're a venture capital owned company and those VCs say, I want some ROI on my investment, and they've both pumped, let's say, $40-60 million in each, then you have to start saying, hey, this product's ready for prime time. And I remember a bank using it in actual production, and there were buttons on the dashboard that didn't go anywhere. It was just a blank button basically that said words. I don't want to describe too much because I'd sign an NDA with these guys. And so, yeah, really right on the edge, and in my opinion, over the edge of deception.
But this thing can't last. It's like shooting yourself in the foot because you are pressured.
But then the venture capitals, they get their money out and then they sell the company, right? So it's like, you're right, it doesn't last, but they tend to get repackaged a few times and absorbed by some, bigger companies. So you're right, though, the parallel is correct. And as long as, and we've got this entire team, as you're describing right now, we're finding customers that go in with this eyes wide open, fantastic, right? And I'm tickled to bits to hear that, we actually have a relationship with customers that's deep. That is that deep that we would then say to them, hey, look, and I imagine you give them a team of engineers to work with, once they're playing with this product before it goes into production, these kinds of things, right?
Yeah. You do the full, POC cycle. You also let them play with the tool for a lot of time. It depends on the time that you get them into the program. If it's already, in the first stages of the EA, so they have a lot of time to play with it. And if it's right before we are launching the product, so maybe a little bit shorter, but they have the time to play with it, to see the value, and then to decide what they want to do forward.
I'm going to ask you in a moment, this is a real cheeky question on my part, but I think it might make an interesting story. If we've ever launched, had a product that in the end people didn't see the value, right? We go through all of this and they didn't see the value. It might just be an interesting conversation. Maybe there isn't any, but let's get to some comments and questions. Bhupinder Singh, thank you for joining us, Bhupinder. Hey, Eddie, before Gil comes back in, from the internet back then, a quick question. Does Checkpoint offer internship to cybersecurity network industry students in Canada? Well, we do offer internships, and we have amazing internships, and we pay our interns as well, which is, I think, truly incredible. I know that we have some in the United States, quite a few, and in Europe. I don't see why we couldn't have any in Canada. I don't see that there definitely isn't a piece of paper that says no interns in Canada. I haven't seen a piece of paper like that, but I think you'd have to champion it. I think you'd have to fight a little bit for it, because our bigger markets, like the United States, typically we actually need interns to help us do some work, right? So it's a great program, though, the internship program. It does pay. It's proper work. It's not overwhelming. We see it as them being students to learn, as well as, work with us on, various different tasks. We've hired our interns to become full-time, right? I can name, in fact, quite a few that we've hired full-time. So it's a great program. What I would do is I would reach out to your country manager. If you're in Canada, that's Ron Decker, and say, hey, Ron, Eddie says, champion the cause for me. I've got somebody that needs to be an intern within Checkpoint Canada. The only other thing I would say is I had an intern come work for me in the New York office. He was from Illinois, so somewhere else in the States. But what he did is he actually lived at the New York University halls of residence, $30 a night, because he was a student, right? He was a university student. And so that's the other thing somebody could do, as long as they are able to work in the US, since it is an internship, or if they wanted to take a non-paid internship, there might be something, and they can just stay over at the residence there. From this LinkedIn user, is Ivan. Hello, Ivan. Please try to tag people who I speak with in details so that we can find them. Absolutely. So after this show, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my own LinkedIn profile, which is Edwin Eddie Doyle. I will tag Gil, and then you'll see it in there, Ivan, my friend. All right, wonderful. And then Juan, what have we got here, Juan? So the leadership of a company is often based on an innovative way of adapting to new world realities and new working conditions. Harmony was an excellent solution. Thank you. What else are you thinking, I think, about these new work scenarios in the new world? Good question, Juan. Let's both of us tackle that one. I'll leave it up there for a second, Gil. Well, look, for those people who don't know, who are listening to this, don't know what Harmony is. Harmony is the naming convention that we've given to things that would include remote working, right? Endpoint security. And then, of course, yes, it was a massive adaptation for everybody. Look, the first thing is on your comment on leadership. Gil Schwed, our boss, not Gil Israeli, who's with me here, was not a believer in the working from home model until this thing forced everybody to do so. And now he's a believer, right? Doesn't mean to say that we're all going to be working home for forever. I think there is great value in going into the office. I personally like it myself. So I think, we'll probably see people coming back 80% by the end of next year, right? And that'll be what sticks. I don't think it'll ever be a full hybrid 50-50. That's my personal opinion. But what it did do is it changed our philosophy. And to your point that, leadership of a company is often based on an innovative way of adapting to new working realities. That's exactly what our leadership had to do, right? So yes, what we've done is we have created, let's call it an ecosystem and a better purchasing and licensing model for people on a per user basis. Much cleaner, much simpler, because now it's like we shouldn't care whether a customer's employees are working from home, working from the office, sitting in a data center, sitting at Starbucks, right? We shouldn't actually care. Our security should wrap around the individual with a zero trust, and we call it infinity architectural model, so that wherever that user goes, no matter device, no matter where they are, they are able to connect to the responsibilities and access that they need for their work, and only those things. So we're maturing that model. So I've got a great little talk. It's actually on my YouTube channel, and it's probably in a bunch of conferences somewhere, on zero trust and our solution for zero trust, which we call Infinity. And I would look into the Infinity architecture. Gil, what are your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, I just can say one more thing, because I see more what the future holds for us. And maybe it's not exactly the same topic, but we are investing. We started to invest in IoT security, I think almost 2 years ago. But we are aiming right now to something that is like the next step of IoT security. Not just aiming to our enterprise customer, but directly to manufacturer themselves, trying to see how we can offer them a security component, the nano agent, that will be implemented in their devices. So a product that already being sold to the market will become secured, not like they are currently.
Okay, you know what? That leads really nicely into this next question right here by, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, my friend, O'Shea, Udu perhaps. Please discuss Harmony Endpoint Threat Intelligence. Okay, let me take a stab at this first, Gil, and then I think you can probably expand on what you were just saying with the IoT there. So look, I remember back in 2017, it might have been 18, at a CPX event, as a matter of fact, I was standing on stage talking about, our threat intelligence database. And so I had to do a little bit of research for it. This was 3 or 4 years ago. At the time, we were passing 86 billion indicators of compromise every single day, which, by the way, we publish for free for anyone to take and make use of. We were moving, was it 4 trillion access logs? I think, Gil, it was 4 trillion access logs that we were looking at every single day. We were stopping or blocking 7,000 new unknown threats and attacks every single day, 7,000 a day. This is from 3-4 years ago. So size matters when it comes to your threat intelligence database. And so that's built into that, or rather you are the beneficiary of that threat intelligence database when you plug into the Harmony suite of products there. Yeah, what are your thoughts, Gil, on that? I'll put the question back up.
Not much on that, actually.
I covered it. I nailed it out of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then let's move on. But I did actually wanted you to talk a little bit more about the IoT stuff. Well, because in fact, before we move on to the next question, Bhupinder, sit tight. We're going to come right to you, and then I see another one by a LinkedIn user who's actually Ankit asking you, Gil, a specific question. But okay, so what you're saying with IoT products is when those products ship, when somebody's buying, let's say, camera systems, right, to plug in, you're saying that we will put a light footprint of software on each one of those devices, right? So
exactly.
you have a camera around a warehouse. everyone has a piece of Checkpoint software on it, right?
Yeah, so it's like secured by Checkpoint, or I don't know, Checkpoint inside, like Intel inside, but the idea of it. We are doing right now, I think we have two solutions. So one of them is like the first step of having the ability to use some kind of a scan on your device, on your IoT firmware, that give you a very clear report about the security level of the device itself. So manufacturer in the process of developing a new solution can run this scan very easily. It's a cloud-based scan. And actually see what is the status of the security of the device, and then fix it and run the report again and fix it until it makes sense and everything is secure. So this is the first step. The second step is what we described, is actually implementing a piece of code, security on the device itself, that will make the device secured from different kinds of threats.
And it's my understanding that when one device, let's say an IP camera, because you remember, I think it was Tesla that had their IP cameras compromised. Now, nothing really serious happened, but I think they were being used as a DDoS attack, or maybe somebody was looking in at the production room floor, something like that. At any rate, what I understand then is that this little light piece of Checkpoint software on every one of those, let's say, camera IoT devices, when one of them is threatened, it calls home to look for a security update. If there isn't one, it's quickly created. But that patient zero camera, that one camera, now benefits all other cameras across the network, and not just your network, but we scrub to anonymize information from that particular customer. And then that same threat, if it's seen by any one of our other 100,000 customers.
So this is actually, Eddie, this is actually managed more from our networking IoT security part and our global threat cloud, etc. But what we are discussing here about is more like secured. The product itself is going to be secured, and no one can be able to penetrate it completely. So if someone even try to hack it locally, it will be prevented, because he will try to do something that the product is not used to do. So it's another layer. It's another layer of security on the IoT device itself, not on the networking side.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to come back to that, Gil. There's some pressing questions on what you were discussing before about your leadership of the product incubation teams. So I want to get to that, but then if we have time, I want to come back to what you just said, because I think that's an important distinction that I'm just learning now. Bhupinder is asking, while testing a product before its launch, do you only test it virtually, or do you have any companies, clients, which volunteer for testing beta phase of product? I think that's the latter, but go on. Why don't you expand on that?
So yes, for both comments, because we are doing that in our labs, but we also do it with customers that we have very good relationship with. So okay. There can be customers that are testing beta phase product.
Yeah, I imagine, that's when we really find out what we need to find out, right? I think that's essential. Yeah, not to have it virtual, but you probably have a gradual step into something that's much more important, right? So that you can contain any challenges that might occur from a new launch. Okay, let's get to this is Ankit Bhati's question right here. So he says, Gil, interesting to see how you transition from sales to product. Just wanted to understand, what was the prime motivation behind the shift? Okay, personal career building question from Ankit.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I've been in Checkpoint for over 11 years. Most of these years I've been managing sales in Israel. So my first transition was to move to a global role. This was my first interest, to try to see how to get out only from Israel inside sales, but more to a global sales. And after I did that, I think that I wanted also to better understand the full picture, and also to move to the product organization and see all that, let's say the half glass that I didn't know, on the product development, on how it is being launched, how is the relationship with the customers before we launch the product, and how we are building the go-to-market strategies. And I came because of my experience with the sales to help to gap between the two organizations, the product organization and the sales organization. So I think that right now I can say that I gained an overall picture of the full cycle of a product from the beginning when it's developed and until it's sold to customers.
It's cool because, you know, I think cross-disciplinary work as a responsibility, not just I'm you know, tinkering over here, but I'm now you're shouldering responsibility. You're the head of product incubation, right? So when you shoulder responsibility through cross-disciplinary work, I think companies are so much better off. I mean, for my career at Checkpoint, I started as a channel manager. So working with our channel partners, you know, getting to understand what they need in order to be successful. This was back kind of before the day where we had big iron. It's mostly software. We were introducing the big iron, the big chassis equipment. And so what skill sets do we need to develop to help them? That was super interesting. Then I got into sales. Then I got into sales leadership, right? And then I got into sales specialty work. Then I got into sales enablement, more administration. Then now I'm in marketing, right? So
I think that this is what great in Checkpoint. You can really develop yourself and explore and try things that you are not comfortable with, even to, you know, make yourself a better man. And I think that it's really important to, you know, to explore different kinds of roles and experience them.
Yeah. Kudos to this company for the fact that folks like you and I, Gil, every 2 or 3, 4 years, if we wanted to, we could change, you know. And then here's the other great thing that I love about this outfit. We can try new things. And if they don't work, there's no penalty for it. It's, you know, okay, try something else. It was good to find out what doesn't work. There's value in that too. So,
exactly.
So yeah, good for the outfit. Okay, so we've got a question by Akshay. Akshay, hello. Does the customer, okay, coming back to your EA conversations about incubation, does the customer also share details like performance boost after installing the new EA? What do you think of that, Gil?
So I think that the customers are sharing everything because this is the purpose of an EA. When we are doing an EA program, we are working very closely with the customer. We have weekly meetings. We take all his recommendation and things that he sees in the product very seriously, and we try to address them. And this is the purpose. Maybe something is not working. This is why we are doing an EA, to make sure that everything is solid before we launch the product.
Right, got it. And Akshay is also adding on to that question, saying, and also, is there a difference between the QA numbers and real life product environment numbers? Do you understand that question, Gil, or should we get Akshay to elaborate?
I can understand what he's asking. I'm not sure that I have the data.
Okay, right.
I believe that in some cases maybe it's the case, in some cases not. It's really depend on the environment of the customer. The environments are very different and very complex. So maybe we tried something in the QA lab and it's gave us a result, and the scenario of the customer is so sophisticated and different that it gets something else. But I really can't commit to it because I don't know the numbers themselves.
Yeah, well, maybe it speaks to the question I was asking a little earlier. I wonder, has there been something that you're allowed to divulge, that is, where we've tried something and it hasn't worked? Is there any lessons learned from something like that? That'd be kind of interesting to hear, because everybody knows the successes of Checkpoint. Harmony, customers are already speaking of it. Yeah, so what are your thoughts?
Not work and we dropped it. Like there's a product, we did all the process, and we decided that we need to drop it because it doesn't give value. It didn't happen. Eddie, are you with me?
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, you were frozen there, but I heard everything you said. Have you got me still? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure I'm live because I'm usually like 800 megabits per second. I got fiber almost all the way to my door when COVID hit. So I think that might be on your side, Gil, if you can hear me. I think your internet is playing up a little bit there, but I got another question or comment from Ankit. Thank you very much, Ankit, for jumping in again. Thanks, Giledi, for sharing your entire journey at Checkpoint. Really excited to explore a lot of new things since I joined. Oh, you're with Checkpoint, my friend. Okay, well then let me give you a thumbs up right here. What region are you in? Quickly type that out because we're about to wrap the show as soon as Gil gets back. But yeah, let us know the region that you're in. You're very welcome. We have, what, 6,500-ish people at Checkpoint now. So welcome to the team. And that's wonderful. And yes, you can have a varied journey here over at Checkpoint. Bhupinder is jumping in with another question or comment. So let me just jump right into this right away. Eddie, I have been following previous events. I see you are covering all aspects of Checkpoint products. And I would request if you could come up with someone to share about cybersecurity compliance and how Checkpoint products helps to meet them, not only the North American, but worldwide compliances. That would be great. Absolutely. Bhupinder, consider it done. I'm going to just make a note, and I'm also going to address that right now with you live because I've got a few things to say about it. So I'm going to get our GRC Blade product manager on for you, Bhupinder, on the show. Now we have this incredible. I'm getting all sorts of spam here now, typical. We have this incredible compliance blade. And what it does, Bhupinder, is I love this thing. It's actually often overlooked. We give it to every customer, I think. Oh, this is live and I could be in trouble with my sales teams. But I think we include the license for free in the first year. I think we do, the GRC Blade, Governance, Risk, and Compliance. And so if you're a customer, if you're a partner that works with a customer, Bhupinder, have a look at that, call the local sales team, turn that blade on. We call it a software blade, right? Not to be mistaken with a hardware blade. It's not hardware at all. We call them software blades. And what the GRC Blade does, what I love about it, let's take a simple one, something like PCI compliance. So if you need to be PCI compliant globally, right? There might be rules in Europe, certainly are after the European Union with all of the GDPR, etc., right? Versus United States versus Asian countries. Well, you click the I need to be PCI compliant. And then what the tool does is it'll push through your rule set. To talk about the GRC Blade here, Gil. It'll push through your rule set and it will make sure that you are compliant with PCI in the countries that need to. It could be a NIST standard, FERC, NERC, right, for utilities. Whatever it might be, our compliance blade will take countless hours out of your actual work. So I will do that though, Bhupinder. Absolutely. Thank you very much for making a request. I'm totally going to do that with you. Let me just scroll past.
If you want me, I can add another note in regard to the compliance that it's important.
Yes, please.
Because it's not only about regulation. I think one of the problems that we can see is that customers invest a lot of money on security products, and then they are getting tired of the implementation and configuration, and they are not configuring the product the right way, and then they think that they are secure, but they are not. So one of the things that the compliance blade is also doing is making sure that your Checkpoint devices are configured properly and not in a way that you are not secured.
Beautiful, beautiful, exactly. Okay, I was thinking of wrapping the show right there. So I got a great request from Bhupinder. We'll absolutely get onto that. And Keith is with us in our sales teams in AP/AC, Asia Pacific, most likely, somewhere over there. Okay, cool. I'll guess at that. Welcome to the team. That's absolutely wonderful. And Gil, listen, hey, internet is internet, my friend, and look at this show. The show must go on. Hey, it's all good. It's all good, man, because hey, I'm an A-type personality that can just talk. So I can carry the show.
Exactly.
We'll have to have you back in 2022 because we don't want to hear from me. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from the guests. So we'll do that. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, our CPX events, while we are live, I will just get the dates because we did lock those dates in just the other day. We are starting in the week of the 17th of January. So the week of the 17th of January, our CPX events start. Go to checkpoint.com and you'll start to see some of the dates lined up there. We have made this event free. It's normally about $3,500 per person to attend in person. There's as much value with virtual, but of course, you don't have to travel, and it's different virtually, right? That whole birds of a feather kind of everybody standing, chatting and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. You don't get that virtually. So what we decided last year was to give the conference away for free. And so I believe we're doing the same thing this year. So certainly if you keep an eye on our website, you'll see where you'll be able to register, and you'll get a calendar invite, and you can invite other people, and you can start to set up your agenda by meeting with people like Gil and others to understand your product challenges. All right, my friend Gil, I think that's a wrap on this show. What do you think, man?
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
All right, super cool. I'm going to end the broadcast next week, every Monday at 12 Eastern. We're doing Ask Me Anything, talking to Checkpoint. Good luck, everybody.